In today's political landscape, two figures stand out, representing vastly different ideologies and approaches: Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Both have made significant impacts on American politics, yet their styles, beliefs, and the narratives they promote couldn't be more different. So, let's dive into this comparison, breaking it down into their backgrounds, policies, leadership styles, and the legacies they are shaping. First, let's take a look at Donald Trump. Born into wealth and privilege, Trump's rise to prominence was fueled by his business acumen and a flair for self-promotion. He's a quintessential outsider who burst onto the political scene in 2016, promising to shake things up in Washington. His campaign was marked by a populist message that resonated with many Americans who felt left behind by the political establishment. Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," tapped into a sense of nostalgia and a desire for a return to simpler times, appealing especially to those who felt disillusioned by globalization and economic shifts. In contrast, Kamala Harris's journey to politics is rooted in her background as a public servant and her commitment to social justice. The daughter of immigrants, Harris has often spoken about her upbringing and how it shaped her worldview. She served as the Attorney General of California, where she made headlines for her progressive policies, particularly around criminal justice reform. Her campaign for the presidency in 2020 was marked by a focus on equity, inclusion, and a vision for a more just society. Harris represents a new wave of leadership, one that seeks to address systemic issues and elevate marginalized voices. Now, let's talk about their political ideologies. Trump's policies often lean towards nationalism, emphasizing America first in trade, immigration, and foreign policy. He took a hard stance on immigration, advocating for stricter border control and a controversial travel ban. His economic policies focused on tax cuts and deregulation, appealing to businesses and conservative voters. Trump's approach to governance is often characterized by a confrontational style, where he thrives on creating conflict, whether with the media, political opponents, or even within his own party. His supporters appreciate this boldness, viewing it as a refreshing break from traditional politics. On the flip side, Harris champions a more inclusive and progressive agenda. Her policies focus on health care for all, climate change action, and addressing racial inequalities. She advocates for comprehensive immigration reform that balances security with humanity. Harris's leadership style is often collaborative, seeking to build coalitions and work across the aisle when possible. Her approach is rooted in empathy and understanding, aiming to uplift those who have been historically marginalized. This stark contrast in ideology reflects broader divisions within the American electorate, with Trump appealing to a more conservative base and Harris representing the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Let's not forget about their communication styles. Trump is known for his direct, often brash rhetoric. His use of social media, particularly Twitter, revolutionized how politicians communicate with the public. He bypassed traditional media channels, speaking directly to his supporters and often using provocative language to rally his base. This style has been both praised and criticized, as it creates a sense of intimacy with his followers, while also fostering division and hostility towards opponents. His rallies are a spectacle, filled with chants and a fervor that energizes his supporters. In contrast, Harris's communication style is more measured and inclusive. She often emphasizes the importance of dialogue and understanding, seeking to connect with people on a personal level. Her speeches are filled with stories that resonate with everyday Americans, highlighting the struggles and triumphs of individuals. While she may not have the same bombastic presence as Trump, her authenticity and relatability shine through, particularly in her commitment to listening and learning from diverse perspectives. Now, let's explore their responses to key issues. Take the COVID-19 pandemic, for example. Trump's initial response was marked by downplaying the severity of the virus and promoting unproven treatments. His administration faced criticism for its handling of the crisis, with many arguing that a lack of clear communication and coordination led to unnecessary suffering. Trump's focus on reopening the economy often clashed with public health recommendations, leading to a polarized response among the American public. Harris, on the other hand, has emphasized the need for a science-based approach to public health. She has called for comprehensive measures to address the pandemic, including increased testing, support for frontline workers, and equitable vaccine distribution. Her focus on social justice has also highlighted how marginalized communities have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic, advocating for targeted relief efforts. This difference in approach underscores the broader philosophical divide between the two figures. Trump prioritizing economic concerns and Harris emphasizing public health and equity. Another critical area of comparison is their stance on climate change. Trump's administration rolled back numerous environmental regulations, arguing that they stifled economic growth. He has often expressed skepticism about climate change, framing it as a hoax and prioritizing fossil fuel production over renewable energy. This approach has drawn sharp criticism from environmentalists and scientists who warn of the dire consequences of inaction. In contrast, Harris has made climate change a central tenet of her political platform. She advocates for ambitious policies to combat climate change, including transitioning to renewable energy, investing in green jobs, and addressing environmental justice. Harris understands that climate change disproportionately affects low-income communities and communities of color, and she has called for policies that not only tackle environmental issues but also promote economic equity. This difference in priorities reflects a broader generational shift in how younger voters view climate action, with many seeing it as an existential crisis that demands immediate attention. Let's also touch on their approaches to foreign policy. Trump's America First doctrine reshaped U.S. relations with the world. He withdrew from international agreements like the Paris Climate Accord and the Iran nuclear deal, arguing that these agreements were not in the best interest of the United States. His administration emphasized bilateral negotiations and often took a confrontational stance towards long-standing allies. This approach has led to significant shifts in global dynamics, with some praising his willingness to challenge the status quo while others express concern over the potential for increased isolationism. Harris, conversely, advocates for a return to multilateralism and diplomacy. She believes in the importance of working with allies to address global challenges, including climate change, security threats, and human rights issues. Harris's vision of foreign policy emphasizes collaboration and engagement, recognizing that many of today's challenges require collective action. This approach reflects a broader desire among many voters for a more stable and predictable U.S. presence on the world stage. As we consider their legacies, it's essential to recognize the impact they are having on the political landscape. Trump's presidency has reshaped the Republican Party, pushing it further towards populism and nationalism. He has mobilized a dedicated base of supporters who feel deeply connected to his message, and his influence continues to be felt in the party. However, his presidency has also sparked significant backlash, leading to increased activism among those who oppose his policies and rhetoric. This polarization has created a more divided political environment, with many Americans feeling that their values and beliefs are under threat. Harris, as vice president, represents a historic moment in American politics. She is the first woman, first black woman, and first person of South Asian descent to hold this office. Her presence in the White House symbolizes progress and the potential for a more inclusive future. As she navigates the complexities of governance, her legacy will likely be shaped by her ability to address pressing issues like racial injustice, climate change, and economic inequality. Harris's leadership style and commitment to social justice resonate with many who are seeking change in a political system that has often failed to deliver for marginalized communities. In conclusion, the political comparison between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris reveals two distinct visions for America's future. Trump embodies a populist, nationalist approach that prioritizes economic interests and a confrontational style of governance. Harris represents a progressive, inclusive vision focused on social justice and collaboration. Their differing backgrounds, ideologies, and leadership styles reflect broader divisions within American society, highlighting the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. As we continue to navigate this complex political landscape, it's essential to engage in thoughtful discussions about the issues that matter most. Whether you align more closely with Trump or Harris, understanding the nuances of their policies and approaches can help us bridge divides and work towards a better future for all. So, let's keep the conversation going, stay informed, and hold our leaders accountable as we strive for a more equitable and just society.